Hey, what's up, y'all? Hey, today we're gonna be reacting to China's an a-hole. Kevin O'Leary demands Trump unleash 400,000 tariff. No, I'm sorry, 400%. I said 400,000. I'm stupid, man. 400% tariff. I demand Trump drop it to zero and China drop it to zero. Quit being children, like y'all playing with people's money. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about the whole situation. But let's see what Kevin O'Leary has to say about dropping it to there. Subscribe, turn post notifications, smash that like button up. And let's go.
By the way, Kevin O'Leary said the following, Rob, if you can play this clip. And I want to get your thoughts on this, Benny, and then Adam, I'm coming to you right afterwards. Go for it.
104% tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration
400% tariffs. What would that look like?
Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore.
Yes.
Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP
Look at the shocked
that has
face.
been stolen by the Chinese.
Yeah.
I have
none of them own any business.
That's right.
Against
None of them have ever started anything.
None
of those people in panel ever employed anyone except
art,
Kevin.
and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever.
Okay, I want to intervene as quick as possible to let you guys know. Yeah, we're 39% of the importers of everything on the planet. But to China specifically, there's an imbalance there. They import about 17% from us. We import at least about, oh wait, maybe I have the numbers wrong. We import, I think it's 17% we import from China. And no, they import from us, and we import 30% from them. So we import more goods from China than China does from us. That's why there's a trade imbalance, which again, trade imbalances aren't always bad, but they're not good either, but they're not always bad. And the reason why we have that trade imbalance, it brings us those goods that are cheap for us. You know what I'm saying? They have those factories there. They can build it and process that kind of thing, and process the things and ship them over as much as possible. But he said a 400% tariff. I'm gonna tell you why. He doesn't understand why that's a bad idea. First of all, the 400% tariffs are gonna go on you, buddy, because you're the trader. You are buying the goods from China to import it from us. You have the business. That's the first problem. The second problem, and I guess he thinks he can just withstand it because he'll pass the cost on to us normal people. Kind of normal. But anyways, us normal people, right? The problem with the whole concept of tariffs, instead of just coming to the table and talking to China, I don't understand, is why not, if they're not being fair with their trading practices, why not, in some sense, play the same game? Don't cost the consumer, but whatever they're doing obviously doesn't have the same, doesn't have tariffs involved in it. Maybe it does. Okay, I'm gonna draw back on what I'm saying. All I'm gonna say is I don't think a 400% tariff would be a good idea. That's a huge tax on the citizens that we don't need. A huge tax on the citizens that we don't need. And Xi Jinping will stay in power no matter what. He will stay in power no matter what. He's made it to where he has that ability to where he can. So, well, maybe not if the working class decides he won't. I don't know. I'm back and forth on what Kevin O'Leary is saying right now.
It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Good.
Well, hold on. I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand?
Can they withstand? She
So dumb.
Say your thoughts.
I love the squeeze the head into the wall. I
Hold on. Just to be, she made a good point. They're both the top economies of the world. It's not good for these people to be at war with each other. But I know China's doing a smart move. I don't care what anybody thinks about China. They're doing a smart move. They realize that the United States is using the tariff game right now. So instead of them like tariffing every other country now, they're removing their tariffs on Canada, asking Canada to be import more from them. They're going to the European Unions and asking to import more from them. They're making themselves a global player in the rest of the world. One of the Chinese representatives came forward and said, China has existed for 5,000 years. And he said, out of those years, the United States wasn't always there. We'll be fine. Keep that in mind when we have these type of conversations.
And she's going to go, well, what about the average consumer? A couple of things here. One, the allegory that is being used across social media is that everybody is waiting for our guy, for our bully, for dad to come home. China's a bully. China's been a complete asshole to everybody in the world. There's a very famous clip. Please help me here. Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole. There's a very famous clip. It's one of the most famous clips out there. It's great, and it's a prophet. This man was a prophet.
This is already very biased because he hasn't been that way to... Xi Jinping and China has not been that way to Africa. They've built a lot of infrastructure in Africa. They've done a lot of positive things for the African continent. So I guess white people can feel that way, but white white people probably feel that way. But in a sense, like they can't talk either. You can't say the U.S. doesn't have economic dirty economically. Look what they did to the Haitians. Research it if you don't know. Look what they did to a lot of the islands in the Caribbean. Like if you go back between if we want to take it back as far as 1940, around the time China was starting to prosper and build itself up. Look what we were doing with Haile Selassie when the Germans and the Italians were going over there attacking him. We didn't do anything economically to help or intervene in some way, but they started through economics is how they were destroying them. So I mean, it's a lot. Let's go on.
But he's a Taiwanese dude standing in the street saying China is asshole.
That's it.
Donald Trump.
I just saw this morning too.
China. We need independence.
Yeah. And what's your message to? Have you seen Donald Trump? Do you think he should step in?
Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole.
Can we do it together? Can we just get one? Can we get the wide shot here? Can we just do it together? 3, 2, 1. China is asshole. There's the
Oh my God.
What sign is he
Trump
holding?
listened to this guy and said, and what do you want, right? What do you want in every 80s movie? What do you want in Back to the Future? What you want, the apex of Back to the Future, the climax of Back to the Future is when George McFly finally takes that shaky fist and punches Biff in the effing face and bloodies his nose, and Biff is crying.
And he wins the girl.
That's right. The chicks fall in his lap. He gets in the DeLorean and rips it. It's awesome. It's like the American economy now. The American economy, everyone's waiting for George McFly, Trump, to just punch China in the face, right? And to get red China, red in the face, blood dripping, and say, like, you know what? You've been such a jackass to everybody on Earth, and nobody likes you, and nobody wants to be you. We know what's cooking here inside of this dirty little laboratory for the World Economic Forum. We don't want your techno-slavery, and we are going to knock you down. And that's what President Trump's doing, and that's going to be wildly popular.
Not saying I'm against anything that Trump's doing. I think if they're not having unfair trade practices, then we need to do something about that, 1,000%. But you can't say China's been an asshole to the whole world. Their goods imported everywhere else has been a much cheaper for the average consumer. Notice how he went away far from the average consumer conversation. The average consumer can't afford to pay 400% tariffed on goods. They can't afford it because the business people, these guys, us business people, are going to fucking, us business people are just going to pass the price onto the consumer. So it affects the consumer a lot more. The tariff affects the consumer a lot more. It's a horrible, on both ends. It's a horrible way for China and the U.S. to get their message across. Even though we hit first, if they've been doing unfair trading practices, technically they hit first, so this is a good eye waker upper. But I hope they can come to the table sometime soon and balance it out for the rest of the world, because two of the best economies in the world should combine themselves and make this planet a better place. We shouldn't be fighting amongst each other. But hey, man, to each his own.
Adam.
Love Back to the Future. Are you freaking kidding me? Make like a tree and leaf, George
That's
McFly.
right.
Get out
Yo,
of here, dude.
that's
Anytime you can
exactly
get a Back to the Future reference, forget about it. And then the best scene is the electricity on the roof. The whole thing gets Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Back to the Future, if we could go back to the 80s, remember one thing.
Okay, I kind of don't want to hear.
Who made...
Hold on, let's skip ahead.
It makes no sense. It's kind of like... It's a weird example, but you see what Kanye is doing to Jay-Z these days?
Oh, goodness.
So don't know what to expect.
No, for sure. Yeah.
So that's what
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I got what you're
like
trying
his
to say.
opinion.
Because to me, a part of what's going on right now is, like yesterday I had Richard Werner on here, okay? And I don't know if you know who Richard Werner is. He is the father of quantitative easing. He's the guy that came up with quantitative easing. This is the guy. So this is the second podcast we did with him. It's a kind of a podcast that guys like me love, but it's like all numbers and it's all like economy and stuff like that, right? He said something very interesting. He said back in the days, Rob, if you can pull up the leader that they had, Deng Xiaoping is his name. I hope I said it right. So this is the guy.
Actually, you think you did a great job, people.
So him, in 1978, China's in the shits. Nothing is going on, okay? They have a lot of trouble. He goes and meets with Japan, their enemy. He meets with Japan, the enemy. He goes and meets with Japan's leader, the enemy, and they have some, what drinks? He said, not sake. What did he say? They had some drinks together.
Yeah.
And while they did, during the dinner, this is it. He said sake?
Yeah.
Okay. During the dinner, you know what ends up happening? He asks him, he says, look, I need your help. How were you guys able to grow your economy 15% back to back to back, where your size of your GDP doubled 4 times over a span of a couple decades? How did you guys do this? And finally, Japan, after it was done, they shared with them. They said, how many banks do you have? He says, we have one central bank. He says, no, how many banks do you have? He says, I just told you, we have one bank. He says, it'll never happen. He says, what do you mean? He said, you need 5,000 banks and 5 million loan officers taking 35 applications of business owners on a weekly basis. He says, how many? He says, you need 5,000 banks, 5 million loan officers taking 35 applications a week of small business owners coming in. He says, you're kidding me. He says, no, if you don't do that, it's not going to happen. He goes back. That's exactly what they do. China then starts having different banks. They start competing with banks. They start having the loan officers. Small business starts taking off. China's economy goes up. This guy said, let's set aside our communistic history and all this other stuff. Keep in mind, in 1971 is the first time that a U.S. president went to China for the first time ever, and it was Nixon. Hadn't happened for 25 years. So he comes and he goes to Japan, has that conversation. He leaves, China takes off. The next thing I did yesterday is I wanted to find out what Xi thinks about him. Because what Richard said is the U.S. has to have a conversation with China to have it be a conversation like this. Let's find a way to make this work. Well, if you look up, go to ChatGPT and type in what Xi Jinping thinks about Deng Xiaoping. And when you type this in, because a part of it has to be like, who's your hero? Do you look up to that guy? Is that somebody you admire? If you do, then the president and his team can think about how to approach China. This is what you'll see. Xi frequently credits him in a speech calling him the greatest Marxist. He acknowledged him, but also at the same time, he has positioned himself away from him. Rob, if you can go a little bit higher, the camera's covering it. He said good things, but Xi views himself, distances himself from Deng in the last few years because he wants to go back to more the control of what's going on, the way it was with China, the Communistic Party, right there. It doesn't matter what a cat is, black or white, as long as it catches mice. Pragmatism over ideology, that's Deng. Here's Xi. Reinforce the role of Communist Party in every part of society and business. He cracked down on private enterprise, reintroducing ideological control. So Xi is not Deng. But you know what he said that was even scarier than that? Rob, can you pull up the following? Pull up the numbers that he showed yesterday. The number of banks in America. Watch this here, Vinny.
How many banks we have here?
Okay, before you even pull it up, Rob, go to the chart. Before you pull it up, let me just kind of tell these guys, don't pull it up yet. How many banks do you think we have in America today?
I mean,
Millions.
How many banks do
Like
you think we have in
branches
America?
or types of banks?
Total banks. How many total banks do we have in America?
like building
Yeah.
itself.
How many banks do we have in America today?
10,000.
I was just,
It's 4,000 today.
wow.
Okay, you ready? What do you think is the peak? 4,588 banks today. What do you think is the peak of the most banks we had in America?
10,000.
Go back to it, Rob. Can you pull up the most banks we had in America and what the year was? We had 14,000 banks.
Jeez.
No,
Okay.
that's not the year. It's previous to that, if you remember right there. The peak we hit, look at the 70s, 80s, 14,000 banks. And it dropped to 4,000 banks today, 4,500 banks today.
Yeah.
Do you know 56% of all the business that's done is done with the main banks? JP Morgan
Yeah.
Chase, Wells Fargo, B of A, it's the main ones that you see.
Too big to
So
fail.
the problem is we're kind of working backwards.
Yep.
We're not having these small banks that are giving $50,000, $25,000 loans, $100,000 loans. So if Trump is really looking at this whole thing in what's going on, this may be part one. Part two may be, hey, stop making it so difficult to start a damn bank. Chamath was on Schultz's podcast talking about the fact that
That is genius. Oh man, that is genius. That's why I like listening to him talk. I don't know about everybody else. Him. Because he makes big money, so he understands. Put more banks in America and you'll make a lot more money out of America. Maybe that could be the plan. It could be the plan. Because, like China rose to economic success. I didn't know that there were that many banks, though. Put like 5,000 banks. I'm going to write that down, man. Build more banks. Oh, shit, that's how you build a nation. Anyways, y'all, I'm out, though. Peace.